very warm welcome to our webinar. We're delighted to have you with us for an insightful session on navigating today's evolving regulatory landscape with confidence and strategy. Our facilitator, Jackie Smith, is an admitted attorney of the High Court and a leading authority in corporate governance, compliance, and systemic risk. With more than 20 years of experience across asset management, collective investments, and life insurance, Jackie brings deep real-world expertise from senior leadership roles, including former head of compliance for Africa at 91. Known for her practical judgment-based approach, she helps institutions move beyond tick box compliance to build resilient, risk-based frameworks that stand up to regulatory scrutiny and business realities alike. We're also excited to have our lecturer and program specialist, Stefanie Engelbrecht, introduce our CPD accredited masterclass series, From Grey to Growth, a strategic roadmap for managers, risk and compliance leaders in financial services. It's an excellent opportunity to earn your CPD points ahead of the May 31st deadline while gaining practical insights to strengthen your compliance and risk strategy. We hope you enjoy what promises to be a very insightful session. Jackie, I now hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Verity, for that very warm welcome. And good morning to everybody. It's just as chilly here in Cape Town, but I believe it's not as cold in Cape Town as it is in Joburg today. So let's try and get to the other side of the cold and get through this hopefully very interesting webinar today. So yes, the checklist, the good old checklist. I think a lot of us, when we started out with, when FICA came into being, we dreaded the checklist. I was around in 2001 when FICA came onto the scene, and it was a complete new landscape that we had to learn. It was mind-boggling. And yeah, I think the easiest thing that happened during that time was for us to have a checklist. We just didn't realize at the time what that it would turn into something that was actually going to be a hurdle rather than helpful. So this is also one of the reasons why we need to move beyond the checklist. I think that the checklist has become a legacy. It is very inflexible. Things so much has changed. So let's have a look at all of that. So we're starting here where we know that many institutions, they still rely on traditional, often paper-based KYC processes. And those processes are very manual. So there is not much room to actually develop it or grow it because of its manual nature. The checklist-based KYC method was very manual and also very inflexible. Clients would come and say to you as an institution, as an accountable institution, but we don't have this that you are asking. And the institution would go to the checklist and say, but that's the only thing you can provide us with. It didn't allow you to kind of look at the circumstances of the client and say, okay, you can't provide this. Let us look at what else you can provide so that we can do our verification process. So that's one of the reasons. And yeah, in today's world, the customers they are a lot more diverse. They are not traditional in the sense of what a KYC checklist would ask for. So we need to be flexible. We need to move to something that will assist clients and also the institutions to obviously comply with the requirements of the regulation. So the legacy methods were once sufficient, but they are increasingly outdated. They struggle to keep up with rapidly evolving the threat landscape. I mean, I'm sure you are all aware of the lengths and the breadth of cyber security, cyber threats. The cyber criminals are way ahead of us, and in order to keep up with trying to eradicate a cybercrime, we need to change our method of operating as well. Fraud as well. Fraud has become extremely rife, and in order for us to be able to get rid of fraud, work against fraudsters, we need to be able to have tools that can assist us do that. And then there's the expectations and pace of the modern financial ecosystem. Things have changed. People, customers want more, they require more, and we need to be able to provide them with what they need in order for them to do business with us. And so there's a growing gap between traditional KYC practices and the reality of today's digital world. As mentioned, the cyber criminals, they are well ahead of us. So we can't rely on the traditional KYC practices. What we need to do is also start making use of digital practices. Currently, and we'll touch on this a bit later as well, currently there are no KYC practices or customer due diligence practices which make use of digital means, so things like biometrics or anything like that. So this is kind of what we are looking at shifting when we want to shift from moving from traditional KYC practices into what we are going to be calling, or what is called, the risk-based approach. So it highlights the urgent need for a more robust, adaptive, and technology-driven approach. We need to be using technology in our customer due diligence process, because the digital technology is what's going to bring us up to speed and be able to move with the times and be able to assist us better in the risk-based approach as well. So what we are saying is that the shift in the KYC methodology is no longer optional. It's actually essential. The checklist needs to be put to bed with a lullaby maybe, never to be woken up again. Okay, so now what's beyond that KYC checklist approach? We need the shift to a risk-based approach. The risk-based approach was introduced by the regulator as a way to deal with customer due diligence on a more holistic way, As I mentioned previously, the checklist was very rigid. Clients would come and they would try and ask us to be able to sort of adjust the checklist so that they could so that we can accommodate them, but we just couldn't do it. So the risk-based approach is basically looking at a more flexible way to handle to do the due diligence with your customer. It's based on the approach where you assess your clients, you assess your customers, and ultimately the goal of that is you risk rate them. And based on their risk rating, this is the way you are going to approach that particular customer's due diligence. So it's a more tailored approach. It's more it's sort of more appropriate for customer by customer, and there is a lot of flexibility in the sense that we are able to accommodate customers where we couldn't in the past. And so the thing that regulators are requiring and are encouraging is the fact that we do a risk-based periodic KYC refresh. So one of the main factors that is part of the risk-based approach is that there needs to be a KYC or customer due diligence refresh on a regular basis. So those periods or the time between those refreshes is based on the risk rating of your clients. And that what that means is that if you have an example, if you have a customer that is classified as low risk, so you will assess the customer. So how that works is you ask the customer various questions. So basically what industry they are in, what the source of the funds is, and you basically use all the information that the customer has provided to you, and there's certain mandatory information that you need to get from the client. And based on that information, you then will give that client a score, and that score will determine whether the client is low risk, high risk, or medium risk. And then what follows from that is, if, for example, you have a low risk client, and you look at the product that the client is invested in, it's a low risk product, you may decide as an accountable institution that that client's periodic KYC refresh only needs to take place every 5 years, because there is no reason for it to be done any sooner. So that's the sort of approach that you use when you are looking at those periodic refreshes of the customer's due diligence. A medium risk client could be classified to have a refresh every 3 years, based on that risk assessment that you have done with the client and the risk rating that has been assigned. A high risk client, on the other hand, there may be reasons, the factors that you've taken into account will initiate the fact that you want to do the refresh every year for that client. But you can determine that based on the information that you have gained during that risk assessment. And so you can see this risk-based approach allows a lot more flexibility. You can look at the client's information, the factors, the determining factors of their risk scoring, and you can then adjust it according to that specific client. And it's not based on just a one-fits-all approach, which is obviously, which was a problem before. The regulator is also looking for accountable institutions to be open to innovative and risk-based solutions. So anything that will assist you as an accountable institution. And, you know, the obvious answer there would be technology. Introducing technology in order to assist you to either risk rate your clients, to verify the identity of your clients. I mean, if I think of an example of something that could be innovative, is obviously fingerprinting, biometric identification. I'm not sure if the industry is there yet, but this is what we are looking to move towards. I mean, there are certain industries where we are doing voice verification on calls. But that's when you're servicing the client. It's not being used at the point where the client is first coming to your institution. But these are the directions that the regulator is saying, look, and you need to find ways to do this. And also you need to work with other institutions, you know, banks working with asset managers. You need to share your technology so that, you know, things can be advanced by all industries. And so what technology ultimately will allow, it will allow a more dynamic refresh strategy. It will enable you to be able to do those refreshes. And the thing about refreshes as well, the way we currently do it is quite onerous, because you have to approach each client. You have to ask them to provide information in order for you to do that refresh, in order to check that they still have the same information, that nothing has changed, and that their risk rating is still as it should be. So it's an onerous process having to approach clients and ask them for information to do that reassessment every time. One can only imagine how technology will be able to help that and speed up that process. I hope I'm not going too fast, and I know we are going to be having questions at the end, so please do feel free to keep your questions ready for me. Anyway, so now we want to know, what is the sort of key question? What defines an effective risk-based KYC program? So the key considerations for right-sizing your KYC refresh. You need to know the product, service, risk differentiation. So definitely every product, it's not only your client that has a risk rating. Your product is one of the product is one of the sort of factors that you take into consideration when you risk rate a client. So your products, they also give you an indication of a level of risk. Just an example, if a client is investing into a retirement product, or what is termed in the industry as a compulsory product, that product is normally rated as a low risk product. And the reason being, it is a compulsory product. So one can't put funds into a compulsory product directly. It normally comes from another compulsory product. So it's never done by the member themselves. And the exception is obviously in a retirement annuity fund. So, for example, a retirement fund, if you, as an employer, you contribute to your retirement fund, your employer's retirement fund, they take that money and they invest it on your behalf. Sorry, somebody's not muted. Sorry, okay. So to carry on, so that employer takes the fund takes the money and invests it. So the money that is going to be invested, for example, with an asset manager, it is coming from a retirement fund. It's being paid from the fund over to the investment manager. So the risk of money laundering there is low. So that's how you classify products. Then you have something like a savings account at a bank. That's another type of product. And you as an individual, you could walk into the bank with a suitcase of money and you could deposit that money into the bank account. And the difference between the bank example and the retirement fund example is that the source of the funds in that suitcase, the bank doesn't know where that money is coming from. Whereas the retirement fund, the investment manager or the asset manager, they know that that money came from the retirement fund. So the source of funds is easier to trace. And that's what makes a retirement fund a low risk product as opposed to, for example, a savings account, a bank account. And then your refresh effectiveness must be data driven. There must be an assessment of your products, an assessment of your customers. And that's what effectively leads to you being able to risk rate your clients. And then you must be able to have good monitoring controls. In other words, to see whether, in order to track trends, for example, if you want to check high-risk clients, if they are transacting regularly, if they are putting large sums of money, you must be able to monitor that. Your infrastructure, your admin systems, you need to be able to have infrastructure to be able to back that up and be able to monitor everything. And yeah, there must be the sustainability of KYC controls and data quality. I may just take a sip of water. So there are different refresh models. I explained one earlier where you do periodic refreshes. So that's the 1 year, 3 year or 5 year for your different risk ratings for your client. And then you get trigger-based refresh models. So trigger-based would be an event that would trigger you to do the refresh. So for example, if the client comes and they put a large amount of money into one of their investments and it kind of triggers a cash, it goes above the cash threshold. So that will then trigger a report. You need to have a system in place that tells you that there's been a cash deposit of more than the threshold. Currently, the threshold is just under 50,000. So some institutions use those trigger-based refreshes, or they use the refresh model, or they use the periodic ones, depending on, or they use both, depending on the range of their clients and their risk ratings and all of that. So the goal for your refresh and your risk-based approach is to reduce costs while improving risk management. And yeah, the goal is always to improve the risk management around these refreshes. Okay, so you need to, as part of your design of your refresh and your risk-based KYC model, you need to reassess legacy controls, and you need to define what is a right size model for your business and for your customer base. You must align this with organizational priorities and capabilities. So you must consider regulatory requirements across all of this: products, services, customers, and the geographies where you operate. So as I said before, your products, your customers, all of that can be risk rated. In the different geographies, there are different requirements for KYC. So you need to take all of that into consideration. And you need to ensure that in all of those areas, when I say areas, I mean geographies, and I mean product, services, customers, you need to comply with the requirements for that specific, whether it be the product or the geography that you're in, and the CDD, this customer due diligence requirements. Okay, and then there's always this, you must always evaluate whether your refreshes and your KYC outcomes are, it's the productive versus the administrative reviews. So is your refresh, is it leading to an actual productive outcome, in the sense that, is it giving you results? Is it showing you where the risks lie? Does it show you your high-risk customers? Is it showing you when your high-risk customers are making sort of high transactions, adding lots of sort of frequent transactions and that type of thing? Is it actually showing you that? Or is your refresh or your review, is it only just meeting the administrative requirements? Is it only, it's kind of ticking a box again? So you've done all of that, and it's not really showing you any outcomes. It's not showing you where the suspicious transactions are. It's not showing you where there are cash deposits over the threshold. So you need to make sure that whatever refresh model you use, it's productive, it's providing results, as opposed to just ticking that box. Because if it's just ticking the box, then it means we're going back to that legacy time. So you need to also assess your control environment to the readiness. So will your controls prevent what you needed to prevent? Are they ready for that model that you're going to use? And then you need to develop a comprehensive customer view across business lines. So if you, as an accountable institution, if you have different types of businesses, you have different products, you need to have a view of the type of customers that are using those products and are in those different sort of businesses. And of course, we always need strong data quality and reliable data sources. To optimize the refresh model, you need to shift to a targeted risk-based approaches where appropriate. And you need to obviously balance risk coverage with operational efficiency. Okay, moving on. So in conclusion, just a few sort of closing comments. So ongoing monitoring may not capture all risks. Organizations may need to create manual processes or accept limitations for certain low-risk customer types. So this is something that the risk-based approach does allow. Where you have low-risk clients, you can make adjustments to your refresh model, because not all risk events need to be monitored or need to be, you can just maybe accept that risk. It's not necessary for you to do anything about it. And this model allows you to do that in the case, for example, of low risk customers. So you as a business, you as an accountable institution, you can make that adjustment. And that's what's good about the risk-based model. And then as I mentioned, that you can customize your refresh model. You can combine trigger-based low risk, so for low risk clients, and then also use periodic for high risk clients. This is also what the risk-based model allows you to do. You can customize it. So for the different customers, you can use a different approach. And that's where the flexibility of this risk-based approach comes in. And then you must always prioritize risk management over operational convenience. So, I mean, obviously, what that means is we have a tendency as a business to want to allow certain things because we want to please the customer, number one, and also it's operationally difficult for us to do so. We must never do that. We must always prioritize risk management. You must put risk management over operational convenience and also convenience to the client. The days of pleasing clients are gone. We need to put that to bed with the checklist and never wake that up, because it's going to get you into trouble with your risk management. And then you must always ensure that your AML CTF risk coverage is enterprise-wide across your business, in terms of product-wise, customer-wise, and also geographically. A good way to go to kind of start is to follow the sort of walk, don't run approach. Start small, try a pilot, try your refresh model on a pilot of customers, test it, and then you scale it according to your business once you know that you found one that actually works. Yeah, and I think that's it. Once again, prioritize risk management over operational convenience. Okay, now I'm going to hand over to Stefanie, who's going to take us through the details of what we are going to be presenting in the masterclass series. Over to you, Stefanie.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Appreciate the time that I can take during your webinar to introduce our masterclass series. And welcome to everyone. I think this was very insightful, and something that we need to start implementing, especially now that after the initial grey listing, and then the subsequent exit in October 2025, the regulatory expectations, like Jackie said, have shifted decisively from the technical adherence to legislations to a more demonstrable effectiveness, our professional judgment, and then, very important, our ethical decision making. So the masterclass series, the compliance and strategic roadmap, is designed to equip you as professionals with the knowledge and then also the analytical framework that's required to operate completely and ethically within this new environment. The masterclass series then also supports the FDA's mandate to promote professional competence, integrity, and accountability within the financial service industry. So we are going to apply for CPD, or you will get approved for CPD hours that you can add to your 6, 12, or 18 required hours in the CPD cycle. So each session will contain a certain amount of hours. It's a 3-month series, So every month we're going to have 4 sessions, and that will be every Thursday. It will run over to our period. And then the outcome is, immediate application of compliance by design to fuel organizational innovation. Just to break down the content, so basically each month is a phase. So the series is divided into 3 progressive phases. Phase 1 will be the foundation of modern gatekeeping. So we must move beyond the rote memorization of the law. And the goal of this is to answer questions that test professional judgment, operational logic, risk appetite calibration, and we're going to look at how do we apply KYC. We're going to look at CDD and EDD, enhanced due diligence, the RBA logic, and then also the regulatory enforcement through case studies, which we're going to work through. So that will be phase 1 in the first month. In phase 2, we will go from the transitioning from gray to growth. And that represents the shift from survival, getting out of the grey list to sustainability, which is more the long-term resilience. Because we want to look at what we're going to do to prevent going back onto the grey list, because we are going to be audited very soon. And each of our organizations need to look at that long-term resilience. And the focus here will basically be on the strategic implementation, moving simply from knowing the law to managing it as a business process. And we're going to look at the 2025 and 2026 regulatory pivots in South Africa. And then our last phase, which will be in our 3rd month, also 4 sessions every Thursday, we're going to look at the new frontiers and financial reality. So phase 3 is the innovation versus the integrity module. This year in 2026, South Africa financial sector is no longer just distinguishing or digitizing, sorry, not distinguishing, digitizing. It's navigating a world where AI, crypto, and margin compression define, whether a business survives the next audit or the next quarterly report. So here we're going to address technology, new asset classes, and then very importantly, the bottom line. We will work through, like I've mentioned, high impact case studies from 2025 that are very relevant to us in South Africa. And they're perfectly going to illustrate a risk-based approach in action. So I don't know if everyone read about the case studies or the cases in 2025, but we're going to look at, delve into that and learn from that cases on how to prevent being penalized and being found incompetent. We're going to learn from each other. The sessions will be very much webinar based, but interactive as well. So we are going to ask questions, we're going to share thoughts and perspectives. So, just in conclusion, given the scale of regulatory change, the increased supervisory scrutiny and the heightened professional accountability that the financial service practitioners in South Africa is facing, the Masterclass series represent a meaningful and very necessary contribution to continuous professional development. We need to stay up to date. We need to look forward. We need to be a step ahead of our competitors as well. Yeah, so that is pretty much our CPD 2026 Masterclass series. If you have any interest, there is a fee involved. There's a fee involved for if you want your CPD hours. And then also, if you don't require CPD, there's a different price structure for that as well. If you have any interest or would like to get more information or would like to sign up, Verity, I'm not sure where we can put the content or the contact details, um, put the contact details down, and then one of our colleagues would be in contact with you. I've seen Verity also added the Greater Growth brochure for more information, and then also our schedule. We aim to start our masterclass sessions next week. And yeah, we still have a couple of weeks left, or let's say a couple of days left. I think it's 23 to be exact, to obtain our outstanding CPD hours. So please be in contact with us as well. I see Verity just put up her email address there. We do offer free CPD newsletters and webinars and programs if you still need some outstanding CPDs before the end of May. So thank you very much, Jackie. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you everyone else for the opportunity. And yeah, we're looking forward to tackle this next not want to say hurdle, but this next exciting and interesting subject. Thank you very
And
much.
maybe just to add, hopefully I won't be doing all the talking. I hope to make these sessions a lot more interactive and to deal with a lot of actual examples that come from actual practical business, especially from the time when I worked in compliance. I don't know if there's any sort of questions from anybody. We've got a few minutes. I'm happy to take any questions. If you have questions about the actual course and the administration, I'll refer you to Verity and Stephanie. But if you have anything from today's webinar, I'm happy to take any questions. You're welcome, Nathaniel. He's just thanking me. I'm just answering, checking the chat here to see if there are any questions there.
Jackie, I don't know if I can jump in here as
Yes,
well.
please do.
I hope I'm not talking out of
No.
turn here, but we are offering a qualification on KYC, Know Your Customer, which is a full qualification that runs over 1 year. And you're going into very much looking at a risk-based approach. Like I said, it runs over a year. And then we have a Shark Tank at the end to see how you can implement, or how you would like to, not like to, but how you would implement the changes on what we are facing into your organization as well. So if you are interested in a full qualification, might it be for fit and proper requirements, or might it be to further your education and your growth within your company and personal capacity, please be in contact with us as well. Thanks, Jackie.
No problem. I'm just staying on to give anybody the opportunity to ask anything. Otherwise, we can close the webinar. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your attendance today. And I look forward to seeing, hopefully, many of you join our masterclass from next week. Have a good day further. Goodbye.
Thank
you.
you. Goodbye.
Bye.